everybody, I'm so excited. I got my first video request the other day and it was how to study. In all my many years at university, and I went from failing to getting a first, I've learned some tools, tips, strategies. I'm going to be sharing them in this video today. However, I do encourage you to try everything, see what works for you, and just adapt it. In this video, we're going to discuss how to scope your subject so that you can create a framework for you to eventually revise it using spaced repetition. We're going to discuss how to write your notes so that you A, understand them, and B, are able to actually incorporate active recall while doing your notes. And then thirdly, we're going to be discussing major buzzword, active recall, and how I incorporate a whole variety of systems from blurting to using flashcard systems and past questions to be able to prepare myself as best as possible so that I can spend less time and get better grades. This is the first step with any course that you're doing, whether you're in high school or university. You want to know what the learning objectives are. I actually brought a little example for you guys. Using this method, I have now prepared Oxford Handbook of Clinical Medicine. So let's say I'm doing my medicine rotation and I need to know basically this entire textbook. But what I will do is then see, this is cardiovascular. I don't even think you can see, but there's gastro, there's different sections. So on my Google Sheet, I will put all the different sections there. Use your common sense. I don't think someone's going to ask me exotic infections. That's nice to know, but I'm not going to include that in my Google Sheets. I'll look at the learning outcomes. At UCT specifically, we have a little orange book that's not here, but it's got the main things that we need to know under each organ system. So you're putting that as your subheadings on your Google Sheet, right? What I like to do at this stage is I go into Google Sheets and I put in whatever learning outcomes they are and each major section, so that I have it all in one place and I know what needs to be studied for the exam. This is going to help us later on. So every time you revise a section, or if we have a lecture on it that day and it's the first time we're learning about it, I put the date there and then I color code it according to red, orange, or green. Red meaning I don't know it at all. Orange, I remembered some stuff, I didn't really understand the topic. And green, we A-okay, I understand the topic fully, I know what's going on in that section. That is going to become your retrospective revision timetable. You're able to just look at it, you're able to see what you know and what you don't know, so it becomes really easy to plan your revision for the day. You're setting yourself up early on to be able to be organized and spend the least amount of time. But we're still on step one, scoping the subject. But do you see how each step kind of lends into each other? So the next thing is, if my friends know I don't take notes, in the strict sense as I don't sit and reorganize the content that's already provided for me. In university, we all have, UCT, we have something called blurt, which is an online website and we can go and download lectures. However, if you're in high school and you're a bit confused, especially if you're doing department exams, I do know that the department website has all the learning outcomes, exactly what you need to know, and they probably do have recommended textbooks. So I would stick with that. And plus in high school you've got the whole year to cover content, whereas in university and specifically medicine we have 4 weeks. Sometimes it gets a bit manic. We push through. You've scoped your subject. I kind of understand what I need to know, and from prior knowledge I know what a heart attack is, I know what cardiomyopathy is, I know what pneumonia is. You just look at that, and it also helps you be able to find prior knowledge so you can build upon the concepts you already know. So we've scoped the subject, we now know what we need to study, and getting onto our notes, using my prior knowledge, I will then blurt. So like I said earlier, my friends know I don't make notes, I blurt. I don't call it a note because it's not something that I necessarily go back to and highlight to learn, right? It's just something, it's like a scrap piece of paper. It's something that I end up tossing away or whatever. That's why I usually use my iPad just to scribble it down. You can scribble down stuff that keywords that you remember on Notion and Word, whatever you like to do for note taking. Scribble down everything you know, then go back and look at your primary note system and be like, oh, I know what this is, I don't know what that is. And then that's when you can put your date in your Google Sheet, and then it's probably going to be red because you're just using your prior knowledge, but at least now you have concepts that you can build upon. You don't push too hard, right? Our whole tactic is to start early, go slow. So for the day, let's say you do that for 4 or 5 topics, cool, and that's all you needed to do on that day. And then the next time or tomorrow when you go back to revise it, you can build every day, just build a little bit more on each topic. I understand and I fully appreciate that sometimes you need to be able to memorize stuff, right? Maybe it's steps or just a whole list of things. And for that, I have 3 techniques for you, which kind of are similar but in different scales. If you watch Sherlock Holmes, I'm sure you're familiar with the memory palace. The memory palace is what he always uses. It helps him find a few things in the series. You use your childhood home or any home that you know really well, going to anchor information to every room, every object in the room. So that's essentially the memory palace. Then you can use it on a smaller scale. Sometimes you can just tie meaning or a topic to a picture. So an example that comes to mind is in medicine we have to learn about the difference between the asthmatics and the emphysematous patients. So emphysematous were like the pink puffers, and the asthmatics were the blue bloaters. So that just helped us remember the pink puffers, as in they're using intermittent positive pressure ventilation. So it's like they're trying to like increase the pressure gradient, and that's just to understand the physiology between what's going on in the lungs. But I always have that picture of the blue bloater in my mind, what the man looks like, and it helps me. So tip 1 was to use the memory palace. Tip 2, tie information to a picture. And tip 3, everyone knows, use a mnemonic. The tricky thing about mnemonics is it's harder to remember words because our brains don't work in words, our brains work in pictures and colors, right? So sometimes you make up all these fancy mnemonics and you forget them all on the exam. So I try to stay away from this as much as possible, unless it's like the morning of and it comes to cramming, and then you just have to, you know. Another tip of the note section, if you are someone who likes to have all your information in one place, like I tend to work with chaos, I thrive in chaos, but I know like a lot of my friends, they like everything orderly, right? If that kind of person, what I recommend is you use your blurting, you do your active recall for your notes, but then you do it for like 4 sections, right? And then your friend will do it for another 4 sections, and then so like all the information from the lecture slides or the book in conjunction with anything that both of you needed to clarify. You guys just collaborate with your notes, and then whatever both of you are missing out, you just add to your notes. The whole purpose of this is that you understand the concept, like you tend to remember it better, and also it's going to help you one day with medicine, you know, saving your life. I'm not going to remember what the page looked like, but it's all about understanding the content. So you've got your retrospective timetable, you've got your blurted notes, and you've got your primary lecture source. All I do for active recall is just keep blurting it out, seeing what I remember, putting what I didn't remember in a different color, and then like just revising that by the end of the day. And you'll see your knowledge will slowly build up and up until it gets like to, you know, basically everything. And now a week from the test or the exam, I'll start pulling out past questions. If you don't have past questions at your institution, Google it. Like there's only so many ways they can test the information. It's been done somewhere in the world. Thank God for the internet these days, right? And even ask older years, maybe you don't have resources that they have and they can share it with you, and ask them what concepts are important, what tends to come out, and that's when you use your blurting again, and you just, but I do say use the past questions a week from the exam, because you don't ever want to find yourself memorizing the answers to the past questions. That's not going to help anyone. You're just basically learning the answer in a certain way, but if the question is like framed differently, you're not going to really know it because you haven't fully understood the concept. What I also do when I don't get something right in the past paper, or even like in high school, you do tests on the same information like throughout the year, and then the exam covers it. Say you did a test and you got like 60% on it, I would go back and highlight that and then try and find out where that question came from and which section it was, because maybe when I was revising I missed out a major concept.
Talking through the cases on my own, so like
from the top of my head I can think of examples from anesthetics. I had gone through all the slides that were provided to us, and then when I looked at we had like Villa quizzes, right, online, and there were a few questions. I was like, where the hell did the doctor get this question from? Then I went back and did further reading, and I actually realized how it was application of one of the concepts that I thought I knew well. And then I'd go on Wikipedia, YouTube, Google. There's so many sources these days just to understand it better, and you know what your teacher wants you to know and what they don't want you to know, and like 99.9% of the time you're going to be fully prepared for that exam and you're going to smash it. Just want to add on to this video, I think it's quite important. I did talk about this in another video of mine called The Cure for Procrastination. I implore you to plan time for leisure activities. You're just going to be working, you find that your concentration is just not going to be there. So I recommend, I do 45-minute Pomodoro sessions with 15-minute breaks. I recommend max, like even if it's a Saturday or Sunday, like 4 to 5 Pomodoros. Don't work too much, because your intention is going to be waning. You're wasting your own time. You're going to be having a miserable time anyway, and you do need to have some leisure activities, because that's when your brain background processes everything, and you also need to be sleeping at least 8 hours, because again, your brain's background processing all information that you've learned and it's consolidating everything. You're going to be a happier, healthier person, and you're going to be able to concentrate better anyway, and you're also going to have better mental health, which is so important for students these days. You can't just keep pushing yourself. If you do these things, and if you prepare as best as you can, as smartly as you can, like preparing actively, using the least amount of time, no matter what your grade is, you're going to be proud of it, because you know that you did the best that you could. And that's when the whole concept of refining your tactics and your technique comes in, seeing what worked for you, what didn't work for you, and being able to adapt so that the next time you can meet the challenge in a better way. And that's all about the growth mindset, because sometimes you can try your absolute best and sometimes it's not going to go well. Like, I can't guarantee you're going to get whatever you wanted to get, but I can guarantee you that if you put the effort in, you're going to be proud of yourself and happy with the result either way. And I'm more fighty. We take challenges and we use them as fuel for fire. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please will you leave comments down below about what worked for you. If it did work for you, it would make me so happy to know that I've helped at least one person, and any recommendations for future videos. Bye.